I think we might have a quorum. I heard from AJ. He's out sick. He's down. Said he missed 2.5 weeks of work. So concerned about AJ. And Stephanie is also sick. So
That's a bummer.
yeah,
2.5 weeks out. That's rough.
yeah, that's serious stuff.
Yeah, I've been sick too, so
Oh, fuck.
I'm here, but I'll be in listen mode mostly because I'm still at work. So
Very good. Don't jeopardize the work. Okay. Let's see. Looking at I can see Dan's in the agenda, and that's probably going to be it. Um, we've talked about splitting this meeting into two. I'd like to do that. One, call it a business meeting. I think that's consistent with what we've been doing on the Wednesday evening meetings, and then um, I'd like to document those meetings with minutes, um, and then to ensure that we have an open discussion and transparency with the community. Um, I'd like to set up, uh, if not regular, at least discussions with the community through, excuse me, through Discord. Um, Either specific topics or some topic that we've seen in the news. Certainly, um, uh, things like Newark and Teterboro, quote drone sightings last night that shut down Newark International Airport in New Jersey. Um, uh, Bit sensational. So, but I think I think people are interested. Important topics for us like remote identification. We see the RFI that AJ highlighted for us. That's to me was quite a surprise that was out and posted. It also with extremely short turnaround for the RFI. I think that's noteworthy for the community. That once RID is nailed down, then the other NPRMs or at least according to the FAA, they'd like to act as quickly as possible on them after they have remote ID nailed down. So, and again, as we've discussed, both focused on, or all of those focused on 107 certificate holders. So I think now is a really good time for us to start putting together a knowledge-based test for FPV and start calling on the FAA quickly. And certainly, I would love to have our nonprofit status in hand so that we have uh, a demonstration to the FAA that we wish to be a community-based organization, and that we have gone to the lengths that they've required us to be a CBO. Um, any reaction? Any thoughts? Dan, I know Josh and I had talked about splitting this into two meetings. Any reaction to that?
No, I think that's fine. I like the idea of trying to engage the community and have sort of an agenda or a topic to talk about. I'm sure it would during the meeting, but to advertise it. Hey, this at this time on this day we're going to have a discussion about this. Come join us.
Yeah,
sounds like a great idea.
Good. Yeah, and if we go off in tangents and it's still a good discussion, that's all the better. And we can figure out who and how to run these. Um, I don't have any ego around. Oh, it has to be me. I have to be on all of these, and I have to run them. Far from it. very welcome to have others in the core team jump in. I also know that my voice is very monotone, so it's far from animated when it's just audio.
Well, as much as I can, I'd be happy to help out and do recordings of them, assuming that's what we want to do, and stick them on our YouTube channel, or if we want to do them live, whatever we decide, I think I'd be up for that.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. Last Wednesday, Chad joined us, and he asked the question that I was absolutely anticipating as soon as we mentioned, well, we've settled on a membership fee or a dues, annual dues for adult and youth members, and it's a good question. So, what's the offer? In other words, what is it that we are providing for our members? And to me, that this needs to be along the even shorter than the elevator response. And so if people were to say, well, what do you get out of the AMA? Some people, like, well, the magazine's okay. I was like, yeah, and then it's quickly, well, we get there's an insurance rider. Oh, okay. Well, my club for flying fixed wing model airplanes is an AMA charter club, and in order to fly, you have to be a club member. So, I'm not really sure what I get out of the AMA, but I'm a member. So, to me, that type of ambivalence is not where we want to be. It's what does FPVFC do for the FPV community? To me, right now, front and center is we advocate for the FPV pilots with the FAA, and the more people can understand that probably will be heavy lifting along the lines of reading hundreds and hundreds of pages, wading through federal legislation and documentation and regulations, and advocating our position the best we can with the FAA. I mean, it can be a little mind-numbing, but that's to me, how do you convey that so that someone who is into freedom and FPV says, oh, okay, well, that's a value. It's a little bit removed and it's abstract. So for that reason, it makes me nervous.
Would you say that being a CBO falls under that category of committing to advocate with the FAA?
Absolutely.
Okay. I don't know if that's something you want to call out independently, because that's a really big part of what we're trying to be the CBO who can define guidelines that are recognized and allow pilots to fly under them.
I like that a lot. Be the CBO for FPV. Advocating with the FAA to OR.
Yeah, since that's kind of how we got started, the FAA put out these things like, oh, we'll work with CBOs, and they get to sort of define their own guidelines, and as long as you follow them, then everything's good.
Mm-hmm. All right, so take them at their word. So be the CBO for FPV operators advocating with the FAA. I'm groggy, so
yeah, you can rewrite that part in the minutes later.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's been a long day. I promise I have had no glasses of wine. I'm just a little groggy. There's the other aspect. So I like that every list is an ordered list. That's the one on top to me. So that's the most meaning. There was we had Josh and I were talking, and we had I think Josh said it. He said, I really like to be the benevolent organization in this, and that to me it resonates because we've um, being part of Road to Riot and watching and monitoring the Road to Riot Facebook group. It's like, I mean, there's so much. If it's not vitriol, it's snarkiness, and it's like, oh yeah, just petulant behavior, and it's not. It doesn't help. It doesn't. It's not inclusive, and it doesn't. If like for example, there's a young kid in our AMA club, 15 years old, fantastic young man, and I don't know that I would recommend that he goes and surfs that page because there's a lot of negative about it, and it's just like and if you ask a question, it's like those of us who are car nuts, it's like the Volkswagen Audi group Vortex. You better know your stuff if you ask a question on Vortex, because if not, you're going to get flamed. And so to me, to try to adopt an attitude of benevolence is not a bad thing, and particularly in the state of our country right now. A safe haven for people to get information, ask questions, and to have that type of mentality. Dan, I don't know if that resonates with you, or if it sounds like, oh my gosh, this guy's gone off
No,
the deep end.
that sounds great. I think it's a wonderful goal. Guessing people will point out cases where they don't believe we are being such.
Oh,
But
absolutely.
as a goal, I think that's a great one to have.
Okay, good. I'm glad you're with that. The other is I love the notion that the initial merchandise will be focused on first, of course, the logos, but then the whole idea that any of the artwork should be around freedom, and it should be around the fun aspect of it. And while I know that I've tried to have a focus on, we need to get this, this organization, this company up and running. There's nothing fun to the community. It's like, yeah. Nice. I don't really care. Talk to me when you have something relevant for me. So one of the things that came to mind along the fun, and this would have to be, as we get appropriate budget, is random acts of kindness, and to me that can help the message that we're trying to send. So if someone has a quad stolen, and maybe we can send them a quad, or if it's um, an education, or it's helping with a test, or a little random acts of kindness go a long way. And if it's pay it forward, then that type of notion, it's to me it helps reinforce the attitude that we're trying to convey. And then as we had talked about, finally, the FPVFC being an objective party in industry standards. So I know this is longer term, and I get it. It's always a good point that we need a champion. I appreciate the technical requirement here. I understand the time that it takes to do this. But I think we could be in a unique position in the industry. Any other thoughts around I'm thinking about, I'm on the website. It's like, okay, I see what these guys are up to. Scan the mission. Okay, I get it. The resources. Oh, that's sort of cute. Some download things. That's right. Now, do I want to be a member of this group? What do I get for it? and the first is, well, these folks are going to press the FAA to as a CBO to allow us to keep flying. All right, well, that's good, but I don't really care, or I don't know. To me, the next is like, well, maybe I'll get ahead, and I'll help support the cause in that way. Show the colors as well as being supportive of the organization. But is there anything that is more front of mind that we need to be doing that says, yeah, this is important?
Yeah, I'm having a hard time thinking of anything else that would stand out as something that we're offering people. I'd have to look into exactly what Google will offer us once we're a real nonprofit, but there's some chance we could offer or email aliases or something for members if something that was appealing to people.
Yep. Okay, well, let's think about that. Next topic. As I mentioned, I checked with our attorney, and we can set up the organization to have the board of directors go ahead and approve the bylaws that we've got in the folder, approve. There are a couple other documents that they need to approve, and then several that they need to literally sign and send back to us for records. I'm trying to get that to set a 1 hour meeting on either the 13th or the 14th or the 15th of February this year. The idea being that the moment the IRS comes back from the partial government shutdown, that hopefully they'll be able to get to our application and we'll be in business. And so I want to be ready for that.
So I assume the shutdown is affecting that, or we don't really know for sure, but
don't
just
really
assume.
Don't really know. Correct. Where I'm making the assumption, over the next couple of days I'm going to start calling the IRS, and I have a hunch that I'll be getting the a phone.
A lot of voicemail messages.
Yeah. So we'll lock that down. Josh and I will finalize the agenda, and to me, part of what's rather important, and we'll take notes on it, is I really am interested in feedback from the board on are they comfortable with the direction that we are taking FPVFC, in as much as they have a responsibility to guide the organization. It's incumbent on us to make sure that they know what we're doing, what we're up to, in addition to just signing off on bylaws and the governance, but to solicit any. They signed up to be the board for a reason. So does our path have resonate with them? So that to me is important.
Definitely have potential ideas for what do we offer the members. Another thing board of directors often do is donate money or find of donations.
Right. Yep. Yeah, to me, that'll be important because I have a sneaking suspicion that or that memberships will ramp very slowly. I'm optimistic that we will hit a critical mass, and it will then we'll hit a good number. But our early days will be lean, and so contributions either directly or indirectly with the board will be. I'll ask, and we'll see what we can make of that. working on the ANPRM. This is something I'd not touched since last week. I'll see if I can dig into it. I'm anxious that AJ is still out ill. I had hoped we would be able to talk through the document and what we thought we could start to take on in terms of answering some of the questions that were raised in the ANPRM. So I'll take a look at it and see what we can and start putting up on in a collaborative folder some draft ideas about what we can do to respond.
Sounds good.
Josh, any thoughts about communication ideas? If you're able to come off mute for a little bit. And probably not. Okay. That's all I had for this evening.
A short meeting this time.
Jeez. Yeah, I didn't thought we might have a little more discussion. Anything on your mind, Dan?
No, not a whole lot that's happened since last week.
Okay. Hey, were you able to make that that webinar? I think it was.
Oh yeah, it was a few weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
The FAA wings
Yeah.
webinar.
Anything of interest?
Not super interesting. It was interesting just to be a part of it and watch it. Yeah, the government's shut down, so it was really a couple of FAA. I forget if they're more like volunteers or they're not actually working with the FAA, but they work with them. But they were doing the live stream out of their home because the office was shut down, and
Oh my goodness.
a lot of it was Part 107 related stuff for the most part, which I had been watching some of Stingy's Part 107 stuff, so it was a lot of things I had already knew about that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It'll touch on a couple of things related to Minnesota related stuff. That was good to see. And they brought up maps of the Twin Cities area and the major airports and talked about the airspace in that area.
Oh, that's good. That's helpful. Yeah, sort of do's and don'ts and get people acquainted with it.
And it's nice to see that people working in the FAA do drone races and things like that.
That's very cool. Very important. Yep. Good. I had we were contacted by an individual who is an author and lobbyist, and he called Chad Capper, and so he's offering to help us. And so it's as you probably know, it's clever on the part of the FAA to insist that we are a 501c3 when we sign up to be a 501c3. The application explicitly has us certify that we will not lobby the legislature. So that has to be done through a third party if we lobby the legislature at all. So this is a fellow who does this for a living, has 3 daughters, is into flying drones, wants to help us. So of course he's billable, but to me it's positive that there's a skill that we can work with from that angle as well. So to me, what made me think of it was one of his ideas was, having an event where you're, rent a room, bring down some micros, and invite staffers and FAA personnel and have some fun and and chit chat, and it can be very effective. And I thought, ooh, that's clever.
Yeah, that does sound like a good idea.
Yeah. So again, I was cringing at the expense of that, but that to me, I get it that could be a very sound use of funds. It's just I know an event like that can you have to be very careful on costs because it can spiral. But a good contact and good connections, and I'm optimistic that that our board will be helping in that regard as well. Okay, anything else?
Nope, not unless Josh decides to chime in. I think we're good.
All right. Well, he's probably unable to come off mute from the sound of it. Dan, thank you, and thank you for being here regularly. I appreciate it, and and I will I'll give you a call. I'd like to chat about some of the organization that we want to discuss with the board members. I'll reach out to you and find some time when we can talk.
Sounds good.
All right, folks. Thank you very much. I'll adjourn the meeting. Take care.